Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I thought that I would start off just by reading a brief section because I don't know who has read it and who has not. And there's a lot of spoilers and a lot of deaths, probably more deaths than spoilers. But so I'm just going to stick to the prologue and keep it fairly simple so I can answer any questions you guys have. Can you hear me fine now? All right. I will read the prologue, and then if you guys have any questions, don't be bashful. Though if you have read the book or you have any sneaking suspicions about twists and turns, please don't put me on the spot and ask me about a spoiler, because I will just throw things at you.
Books?
Books. There are gummy bears down there. That might actually encourage you to talk. So. Once upon a time, a man came from the sky and killed my wife. Beside him now, I walk on a mountain that floats over our world. Snow falls. Battlements of white stone and shimmering glass yawn out of rock. Around us swirls a chaos of greed. All the great golds of Mars descend upon the Institute to lay claim to the best and brightest of our year. Their ships swarm the morning sky, cutting over a world of snow and smoking castles for Olympus, which I stormed only hours before. Take a last look, he tells me as we near his shuttle. All that came before was but a whisper of our world. When you leave this mountain, all bonds are broken, all oaths dust. You are not prepared. No one ever is. Across the crowd, I see Cassius with his father and siblings as they make their way to the shuttle. Their eyes burn at us over the white, and I remember the sound of his brother's heart as it beat its last. A rough hand with bony fingers lays claim to my shoulder, clutching possessively. Augustus stares at his enemies. Ballooners do not forgive or forget. They are many, but they cannot harm you. His cold eyes peer down at me, his fresh prize. For you belong to me, Dara, and I protect what is mine. As do I. For 700 years, my people have been enslaved without voice, without hope. Now I am their sword. And I do not forgive, I do not forget. So let him lead me onto his shuttle. Let him think he owns me. Let him welcome me into his house so I might burn it down. But then his daughter takes my hand, and I feel all the lies fall heavy on my shoulders. They say a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. They made no mention of the heart. To be continued. Just so you can understand where Golden Sun goes a little bit, not entering it blindly. Red Rising obviously was very focused on Mars and on the story of Darrow at the Institute. And Golden Sun expands the world of the Golds and also of Darrow's society as he begins to be thrown into the political maelstrom between the warring families, or the potentially warring families that rule the Gold culture. So we get off Mars and we get to go on a little bit of a Anthony Bourdain, but a violent Anthony Bourdain trip of the solar system. So if you guys have any questions, I'd love to answer them. And if not, I'll just stand out here awkwardly.
I got a couple.
Yeah.
Just a couple if or ors. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Excellent. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
PC or Mac?
I go both ways.
Are you a night owl or an early bird?
Both, which is a problem.
Batman or Superman?
Batman. I mean, yeah.
Automated or live action for Red Rising?
Live action.
Excellent.
Yeah. Though about the Superman question, let's not bring that up again because it is an obvious answer. There are such things as stupid questions. I'm kidding. He wrote them down. He's prepared. He did. Batman or Superman for you?
Superman.
Selling the book is like, I'll pay for it and take it back. Even after he destroyed Metropolis?
I disavow the movie.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's easy. All right. Well, I guess I can disavow nipples on the bat suit then, right?
Please do. Thank God.
That wasn't Batman. That was George Clooney with nipples.
Yeah.
So now that the film rights have been sold, I just wanted to know, were there any actors or actresses you had in mind for any of the characters?
Tons. No, so we're not right at that point yet. Obviously, everyone, I mean, people in Hollywood, I don't know if you know this, but they like to talk. About themselves sometimes, but also about casting. So it's like basically everyone will get like 3 drinks in them and then say who they'd want, ideally. But then like no one's schedules will ever match up. And also, Daniel Day-Lewis can't play Darrow probably, because that's like the only casting choice I'd want. I just aged it up dramatically. Darrow's now 55, all right? But that'll be done when the script is more developed. So right now we're in the pre-development process. So Mark Forster, who directed World War Z, is the director on it, and I wrote the first draft of the script. So we're kind of doing spec art and world building type stuff right now, and then the casting will be a little bit down the line when they actually have a schedule.
How hard was? I mean, was it difficult writing the screenplay for it?
Yeah, like the book took me like I think the first draft about a month and a half, and then there was about 6 months of editing. The screenplay took me about a year because there was like 14 drafts of it before I was confident to take it out. And then when I was confident to take it out, they said maybe you shouldn't have been confident about this. And then I did another draft. So it's complicated because, as you know, with Darrow, there's so much inner monologuing that I am afforded the privilege of telling instead of showing all the time. So I can do there's like a dichotomy of what I can do in the book. I can tell and show at the same time. With movies, you can just show. So in order to convey Darrow's emotions and not make him seem like the biggest asshole on the planet, like for killing people that are nice, we have to there's a lot of tricky setup that has to be done, and sometimes that requires a lot of more rewriting than the book would, because the book is a stream of consciousness. And if you do stream of consciousness in the movie, it ends up being like a 200-page script, which is like 4 times the size it should be, like 2 times.
When it comes
Hi again.
Hi. When it comes to razors, does it only turn from whip to sword, or can they shape into anything?
So they can modify them into any other shape they want. It's an organic impulse, so they're built to survive EMP blasts. So razors are obviously the weapons that the Golds use, and they are basically coiled whips that, in Darrow's fashion, they wear them around the arm. So usually they wear them at the hip. It's like my ode to Indiana Jones. Oh yeah. And so, but with the organic impulse that goes through it, then they can preset it to whatever they want it to look like. And a lot of the Golds carve the deeds of their ancestors into the blades. So some of these blades are 700 years old or 600 years old, depending on how old their family is and what deeds they've done. Darrow's is blank.
Also, do they do all colors? Like, do they have pets, or besides horses?
Yeah, they have pets. Lorna Arcos has like the dopest pet ever, if you find out. But they have carvers and they have unlimited budgets. Think what they can make. I mean, on like Europa, which is the seas in Europa are about 60 kilometers deep. They have created like this hunting ground. The gold parties go to hunt like hippogriffs and griffins that they build, or like kraken that they make, because they can. And they have budgets like people like Mickey, who are basically like they hallucinate for a living and then make things like, and then the Golds go hunt them for fun. They're a little decadent.
3 questions. First, the 2 questions I like to ask all authors, and then one that's just been in my head for a while.
Both sound really ominous.
Yeah, no, they're not. The first is, when you're writing, what wakes you up at 3 in the morning?
Usually my neighbor's dog. Or like thinking that I've layered my plot the completely wrong way, and I'm going the wrong direction, and that I'll wake up and then realize that I'm completely lying about the entire thing, and I didn't do it, and I accidentally stole it from someone, and I have no idea how it all came to be. And that the actual guy that wrote it is like in a closet somewhere, and I'm stealing his ideas. Like I've had dreams like that. It's like this monstrous self-doubt. So that, yeah.
Next one is, have you ever planned for your characters to turn right and they insist on going left?
Constantly. So, you guys familiar with the term like pantser? So pantser is just someone who flies by the seat of their pants when they're writing. Like I try doing outlines, and my editor really like sends them back to me saying, "This is cute," because my outlines are so bad. I'll send him outlines, and I'll think it's like really prodigious work, and he'll send it to me. He's like, I get outlines from my other authors that are 30 pages long. Mine was sent in on a napkin. So the characters a lot of times do dictate. So I'll think the plot's going one way, and then I don't know if this is a good answer.
It is.
Yeah, this is.
Ah.
Nobody touched anything.
No.
It was me. Your dexterity, my friend. What was I saying?
Wasn't that eBay winner?
eBay? No, what?
We were talking about characters turning right
Yes,
when you wanted to go
yes,
left.
thank you. I have a terrible memory. No, this is awful. My mom will say that she's told me things. I know she has not, but she'll convince me that she has. I'm like, now you're just manipulating me. But the characters, yeah, constantly. Like a lot of times I'll put Darren in a situation where I think that he'll be turning right, like in a situation particularly where he meets the Sovereign in the second book, and he does something that I didn't expect him to do, simply because I saw an opening. And it's the same way Darrow would see it. Now, it's really tricky writing characters. They're like 5 times as intelligent as you are. So it's like constantly rewriting. And Mustang's even harder because she's smarter than Darrow. And so Mustang constantly does things that surprise me, because I'll write her and I'll in the outline in my napkin, and on my napkin she's surprisingly dumb. And then when on the page that's like that, she can't be dumb. It's not her character. So then she has to be rewritten and then make all these decisions based on the things that have come before. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my third question.
Yeah.
At what point are we going to find out why the forbidden song is forbidden?
Well, I think that's already kind of been talked about through the culture, is that it's forbidden simply because it was the song was used in an act of rebellion a couple hundred years ago.
I'm sorry, I thought you had another layer of sneakiness that was coming up.
There's stuff in there, yeah, and the same answer. The answer would still be like, I can't tell you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't wondering what the answer was. I was wondering when we were going to get it.
Soon, my friend. Soon. Yeah.
Favorite book from childhood and a book you've read over and over and over again.
Oh man, I really liked the second Indian in the Cupboard. It was Night in the Cupboard. I thought it was the coolest thing ever because they fight giant rats, and I thought that was amazing. But also probably the abridged version of the Iliad my parents gave me when I was like 6 years old. There's these awesome books. They're usually white bound hardbacks. I don't know what they're called. Maybe abridged classics. And they abridge all the best classics through Western literature, and it's kind of how how you know what Tale of Two Cities is when you're 7 years old. But it also messes you up because someone asks, they come over, my parents' friends would come over and say, they'd be talking about Charles Dickens or something, they'd be like, I've read that. And it's obvious I'm not. I'm 7 years old. I'm not reading Tale of Two Cities. But I think I have. Oh yeah, it's a great way to give kids self-confidence. Probably too much. And then Dune is one I constantly reread, I guess. And then Count of Monte Cristo as well. Those two will not go away.
Does Darrow have a last name, or is it just Son of Dale?
Son of Dale, yeah. And it's he'd be more proud of his clan than he would be of his last name, or of his father, or of his mother. The Obsidians call themselves son of their mothers instead of sons of their fathers. Most of them don't know their fathers, because the Obsidian fathers are usually sold off in slavery. So each caste is a little bit different. But the thing with Reds and what makes them so distinct is that they are such members of the clan. Much more so than they are about their families, whereas the Golds are all about the family name, right? It's about that personal pride. And the Reds don't have that same sort of thing. It's about providing for your family, yeah, but also for your clan, because you look how they're structured. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason the Golds set them up like that, because it creates the stratification. They call it stratification protocol, which you'll find in Golden Sun. The stratification protocol is to fracture the Reds even within their minds, and that's based on separating the 12 different clans. And then even then you have the breakdown of the night shift and then the day shift, and they're all proud of the place they come from, their connection to that. So.
Since a lot of authors have no say over the movie that you're writing the script, do you have any more say?
That's a cute question. Ideally, yeah, but the funny thing is, like, contract and then me writing it mean nothing. So what means everything is the personal relationships I build with the producers and then the director, both which are pretty strong right now, but who knows? Basically, I'm able to keep a lot more control over it the better the book does, and then also the better connection that those people who are involved have with me and with the material. Because a lot of times there's a geographical separation that I find with authors, and a lot of authors don't necessarily want to be involved in those decisions. And I do, and I also live like a mile away from the director, so he knows who I'll hunt it down. Yeah. Also, I introduced him to his current girlfriend, so.
Most drastic thing you've done for a deadline?
Most drastic thing, oh my god. I'll tell you the third most drastic thing I've done. There was, does it have to be writing, like a book deadline, or it can be like a terrible paper I did on Russia?
Sure.
It's awful. Okay, so we had this 35-page thesis due my junior year in this comparative politics and post-Soviet comparative politics class. And my professor was an ex-CIA member. And, oh yeah, so he had very strict rules and guidelines of what we had to do. And I didn't read them through fully, and I thought it was supposed to, we were given the 7 topics we could talk about, so I thought we were supposed to choose, 1 of the 7 or 2 of the 7. Then I crack it open like 2 days before, and I realized it's 7 of 7. And so I basically, 7 times as much work as I thought I had to do. So we stayed up for like basically 2 days straight, probably drinking like 5 pots of coffee a day. And then I finished my paper up, and my buddy, who's still going on his, stayed with his paper while I went and tried to work out, just kind of clear my head so I wasn't wasted the entire day. And so I fell asleep down in the gym, like on the bench press. So I was just like laying there. And then the person who was who was monitoring everyone to make sure no one gets hurt, apparently they come and woke me up. And so I ran back upstairs to get my paper to go to class. And I turned to my paper, and then 3 weeks later, I get the paper back, and it was a pretty good grade, but he said see page 14. So I turned to page 14, and it's circled on the page. It says Vladimir Stinky Dick Putin. So my friend took liberties while I was falling asleep working out. So I hold a grudge still for him. Yeah. But it is pretty accurate. So.
So I read that you've written lots of stuff before Red Rising was published.
Stuff is a good thing to call it.
What was it?
There's this one really cool one about like huge griffins and pegasuses that people fly around on and throw lances at each other. It's like George R. R. Martin and a stuffed animal like got together and made a story. And the stuffed animal, like all the stuffed animals died. And there's one about Atlantis. There's another one about a man who works for a private equity company that deals in like baby tier futures and vampire fangs and stuff like that.
And you wonder why that's not published.
You wonder. Yeah. I think I just wasn't aiming big enough, so I was like, all right, so I'll make one about a galactic civilization.
What are you reading right now?
Right now, I'm reading the Expanse series by James S. A. Corey, which is dope. You should check it out. I'm only on the first one, but everyone says the rest are just as good. But it's being adapted to Sci-Fi Channel, so it should have a series out, I think, this year or next year, something like that.
End of the year.
End of the year? Yeah, but it's really, really great storytelling. So I recommend that. I also just finished Station 11. Was the correct answer? I'm not reading anything, I'm just writing the 3rd book. That was the correct answer, right? I'm realizing that now. So nothing, I'm just writing the 3rd book. Yeah.
How far are you into the 3rd book, or are you into it?
Pretty far. Did my editor send you here?
Yes.
Based on Red Rising's pre-release at Comic-Con, will you be making an appearance there this year?
Comic-Con San Diego? Yeah, I'll definitely be there. Yeah. The first time I was so nervous, my first signing, my editor just handed me a beer and he said, shotgun this. And then so one of the other, people who was helping out runs out and tell their boss, they're shotgunning beer. And it's like, good, I want them drunk. So I haven't had the beer yet back there, but Patrick, step it up, right? But yeah, I'll be there. Hopefully I'll also be there. After? All right. Hopefully I'll also be at the Phoenix Comic-Con. But I don't know about that. I'll also be at the New York one probably as well. So I'll see you there. All right. What will you be wearing so I can recognize you? You don't have to decide now. It's okay. The correct answer was Darrow or Eo or something.
Do you cosplay if you're going to Comic-Con?
I do not. I appreciate it though. I one time dressed up as Padme. I had a weird girlfriend at the time. Only some people knew.
It's not weird.
That's so weird.
I had an amazing girlfriend, an amazing one, right?
There you go.
All right, so we get signing then? Oh, one more. Yeah.
Questions?
So, you had said that
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
taken you a month to write the first book.
About a month and a half, yeah.
So, how long had the character been in your head before you really started writing?
Literally like 2 days.
Really?
Yeah. And I just went crazy on it because I'd been reading Antigone and I was hiking up in the Cascade Mountain Range with a couple friends, or mountain climbing rather. And you're up there, like, you have to do it at night. You have to make the push because it's the only time the snow's hard enough, and it's in the middle of summer. And so you're up in the mountain when it's like, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, so it's pitch black and the stars are just burning, and you can almost reach out and touch them, and it's such a peaceful thing, but you're also in agony. It's like utter agony. It's the most beautiful thing and also the worst thing you've ever done, and the entire time you're like, why? And only until like a year ago did it become cool to actually think I did it, because your legs hurt so much. Yeah. Anyway, my legs hurt, and they still hurt. And I was reading Antigone before we went up there, so that was kind of burning through my mind, and I love this image of this girl standing up to some injustice or the cold power of authority. And I thought how cool it was that, 2,500 years later, a story about a girl, someone who's disenfranchised in that society, that story is able to really transcend time and also culture. And I thought it'd be powerful if I transferred that into the sci-fi realm. And then I was like, well, what did Antigone leave behind? And that's how Darrow came to be. And it was that sense of injustice that I felt at the end of Antigone is what began Red Rising. So it was almost like Darrow came very fully birthed already. Very few labor pains, unfortunately.
You're speaking before about the intelligence of Darrow and Munson. When you get them to make intelligent decisions that are we can ask, can you hit a roadblock?
Yeah, so basically the question, if you can't hear it, is if you hit a roadblock because the characters are so intelligent, how do you get out of it, right? I go on a lot of walks. I eat a lot when I do that. So I'm like, I'll just go cook. I'll just go check my tires and make sure they're okay. Or maybe I should clean the car too. I mean, I should take care of my possessions. I should also use the car. I should probably go on a road trip. I should go get that burger I want, but probably get some sauce with the burger too. So I'll do that constantly. And what? I'll leave it all the time. Yeah, I'll leave that participle dangling, and then just go do my thing, and then hopefully come back and see that there's inspiration. But so seldom does inspiration actually strike, except when I'm forcing it out. A lot of times I'll listen to music though, and that'll sometimes help me brainstorm and for creative decisions. But often it comes pretty randomly. Sometimes I get held up a little too much by those decisions, them being so intelligent. So I'll try to push past that and then come back and recorrect if I can. Because otherwise I'll spend 2 weeks on one decision, and it does happen sometimes. I mean, it's happened right now in the middle of book 3. There's this pivotal decision someone has to make, and I don't know what they're going to do, because I also can't think of what they're doing. So sometimes I also try to write a letter from that person's perspective. David Mitchell does this. He did author of Bone Clocks and Cloud Atlas. And he says in order to create characters, he writes a letter at the beginning of each one, in their voice, in kind of their penmanship. And he does it in order to put himself in their shoes. And so I heard that he did that, and then I started doing it when I can't make a decision for a character, because I'm trying to understand where are they right now. So if they're writing a confessional to someone, what would they be telling them, and then how does that influence the decision? And then maybe they don't make the smartest decision, but they make a decision that's true to the character. So.
I'm a teacher, and there's a huge push in education, especially elementary education, for kids to read nonfiction, no fiction. What are you reading nonfiction right now?
What am I reading in nonfiction?
Yeah.
I was reading Unbroken for a while, and then I got bored. And
Yes!
I love Laura Hildebrand. She's way smarter than me, but maybe that's the problem. Right now, I usually have a huge wall filled with nonfiction books. So I was reading, what's his name? David Hansen's analysis of the Peloponnesian War. Basically how it emboldened Sparta and then led to the decline of Greek civilization because of it. I'm also reading I'm reading the fall and decline of the Roman Empire, and the choice, I'm reading sections 2 and 3 right now. So it's appropriate for Red Rising world. And then I'm also reading a folklore, the Romanian folklore book that I picked up because I go to library liquidation sales, so I don't remember the titles of half these books because most of them don't have jacket covers. They're just like $1 things. Sorry, Patrick, I do that.
I do it
and
too.
You do? Okay, cool. It's like these $1 up in LA for like this book on Romanian folklore, which I don't know if I would have picked up otherwise.
So which do you think has influenced your creativity and imagination
Not Romanian
more?
folklore. Probably.
Fiction, nonfiction.
Nonfiction, completely. Nonfiction has because my favorite fiction works, if you look at them, are attached to my favorite things in nonfiction. I'm really in love with the 1800s in France, as well as the Peloponnesian Peninsula, so Greeks, as well as the Romans. And a lot of the literature I follow, like the Aeneid, Iliad, Odyssey, Dune, even has influences from ancient history. It's all steeped in history. Count of Monte Cristo, Three Musketeers, even Indian the Cupboard, is entrenched in history, and that's always made me interested because it has that thematic, that tone, and that the thematics that sometimes like a crime thriller or something doesn't have. So that's why I love sci-fi and fantasies, because they really delve into history.
I love hearing you say that because the kids are like,
Well, what are you trying to get them to read?
oh, just whatever it is in history or social studies or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just sometimes because of the way education is.
Yeah, and there's also that pushback from the kids because they don't want to be told anything. But like I was tricked into reading Johnny Tremaine, which is awesome, right?
You were tricked.
Yeah. Well, my parents, they could never tell me to do anything, so they just leave things out. And so they just like leave things out to like Johnny Tremaine with this cool picture of like his 9-year-old the Musk. I'm like, yeah, I want to read that. But if they gave it to me, I wouldn't have read it, And I read Johnny Tremaine, and then all of a sudden I was really interested in colonial history, because obviously I think that sometimes the problem with nonfiction is that it's not people. There's no personalities and characters. And a lot of times, I think most times, I latch onto the characters more so than the plot. And if you look at just history, that's just plot. It's just plot, But if you people it with historical fiction, like Stephen Pressfield and Bernard Cornwell are just two of the best historical fiction writers. Bernard Cornwell for his Richard Sharp series, as well as his Anglo-Saxon, or not Anglo-Saxon, the Saxon Chronicles. And he had a King Arthur one too, which is just amazing. And then Stephen Pressfield did Gates of Fire, which is one of my favorite books, and a lot of the Alexander the Great books. And so when they people history with these individuals with charisma and characters, then I care about history more. And then I'm like, when I'm reading history, then I'm thinking, oh, well, I wonder what Johnny Tremaine did during that time, even if he wasn't real. So, yeah.
What's your favorite incarnation of Batman?
Oh, we went over nipple suit. It's Nipplegate. I'd say Christian Bale, even though I don't think it's the most true to Batman. I like it the best because I think it has the best tone, and I think it's the most consistent, and it plays with my imagination the most.
Not Adam West?
Not Adam West? Not Adam West, sorry, no. Maybe Adam West in Family Guy. Yeah. That might be my favorite incarnation, yeah.
Any last burning question?
Did you have a playlist for your books?
Yeah, big playlist. I should probably put that out there or something. Yeah, so the Red Rising focused a lot more on a lot of folksy songs. So Head in the Heart of Monsters and Men, a lot of Ben Folds actually, and what else? And then there's also a lot of Johnny Cash in there too. Like I was gonna cut you down. I listened under Repeat like for the entire scene on Olympus. Yeah.
Nice.
So Johnny Cash inspired the Siege of Olympus. Everyone back there?
So I recently finished my first draft of my first novel, and I wonder if you had any advice for the editing process.
For the process, or for like writing in general? The editing process? Find readers that you trust their taste in books, and if it's the kind of book you're trying to make, and then trust them, but also realize that just because they say something's wrong with your story, it's not something wrong with you or your writing, and that your writing will improve. And if they say something bad, you've already improved, because you'll already learn. But also have faith and just keep writing. Because it took me 6 tries and 130 rejection letters, so I got a lot of critiques. It's probably because I was writing about baby futures.
First of all, I wondered what it was about Batman. Don't answer that. Answer that. Do you have audio versions of your books? Because I looked that they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're really well. What's that?
They're brilliant.
They're brilliant. I love them. Yeah.
Because I looked I was probably on Amazon and I didn't see it. So
Oh, you should check it out. They're on Amazon. Yeah. Also.
I'll look again. I didn't
Yeah.
see it.
Audible.
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 Yep.
And it's,
Okay.
yeah, and Jim Reynolds, who narrates it, is out of this
Oh
world.
yeah.
Okay.
He's crazy. I mean, I listened to part of it. I couldn't listen to the whole thing, but I listened to part of it. Because if you listen to the whole thing, it gets really
You already know
vain
the
very
story.
quickly. You know, but the part I listened to, I didn't even realize it was my story. It was so it
Wow.
brought me in so much. Because his voice is, I mean, like my reading is a paltry thing compared to his. Like I feel like I was like reading like a commercial up here, and he's so the depth of his tone and everything, and even when he sings the songs, it's incredible. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Thank you all for coming, and thank you, Mysterious Galaxy, for having us here.